The channel Red Sky features several videos by an old man named Malcolm Bowden. Red Sky and Malcolm Bowden are creationists that openly disseminate false information and misrepresent experimental results to support their own theological beliefs. In my opinion, both Red Sky and Malcolm Bowden are intelligent enough to know that what they are saying is false, that a mountain of evidence is stacked against them, and that they are being deceitful to the public just to make themselves feel better. For the aforementioned reasons, they feature in Debunking Creationists. Let's see what Mr. Bowden has to say, shall we?
We are not going round the sun, but the sun, the moon and the stars are in fact rotating round us. Michelson and Morley set up an experiment with two long tubes at right angles to each other, and they passed light backwards and forwards in these two tubes, one at right angles to their direction and one in the line of the direction of their movement around the sun. And to their astonishment, they found that they were not going round the sun at all. We were in fact pretty well stationary, it seemed. This threw the whole of the scientific community into complete chaos. They simply did not know how to handle this particular factor, that we seemed not to be going round the sun. So they very quickly rushed out, you might call it, and invented what is known as the Fitzgerald-Lorentz contraction. It was a complete invention. A few years later, Einstein produced his theory of relativity, and where we could measure the speed of the Earth going through the atmosphere, through the ether, then he just simply got rid of the problem by abolishing the ether.
Okay, so it's the geocentric universe, is it? Oh dear. This is desperate. To take on an argument that was defeated by Copernicus in the 1500s and Galileo in the early 1600s, let's start as they did. Copernicus's heliocentric model predicted, amongst other things, the phases of Venus. These are rather like the phases of the moon in appearance. This was later observed by Galileo and was evidence that not all things revolve around the Earth, and in fact Venus orbited the Sun. Galileo also observed moons that orbited Jupiter. These observations were key pieces of evidence that not all things in the universe orbit us. As a note, this evidence I have personally observed through the eyepiece of a store-bought reflector telescope. Almost anyone who can afford the £100 or so for one of these instruments can check the veracity of this evidence for themselves. Subsequent centuries have provided mountains of evidence that we orbit the Sun, along with the other planets of the solar system. The final crowning glory of this scientific endeavour is in the success of mankind's sending unmanned probes to these planets. Without the heliocentric model being correct, its application in these missions would have resulted in constant failure. Now, let's deal with your butchering of the Michelson-Morley experiment, shall we, Malcolm? The whole point of this experiment was to measure the ether. This was the proposed medium that electromagnetic radiation, such as light, travelled through. When they got the now famous null result, it acted as evidence against the existence of the ether. It also led to the Lorentz contraction explanation. However, this was not the quick-fix answer as portrayed. Lorentz's hypothesis was scrutinized alongside others in the scientific arena, Only due to the evidence supporting Lorenz was his theory adopted. For a thorough explanation of the scientific method, see my video Ignorance is No Excuse, CAS 6350 Part 1. The real issue with this experiment that Malcolm has is that the speed of light is constant. The premise of measuring the ether in the experiment was in part based on the concept that the speed of light could be exceeded. This is not possible. The speed of light has never been observed faster than that of light in a vacuum. Never. Not reliably. Not once. And people have been looking. Fact is, light in a vacuum is the fastest thing ever observed. This fact is an even bigger problem for Malcolm than it first appears. Let us go on a journey into the Malcolm Bowden universe. Scary, I know, but worth it. Let us approximate the universe to be a sphere. I understand that it isn't, but to spare us all pages and hours of maths, it's a sphere. Now Malcolm said,
"We are not going round the sun, but the sun, the moon and the stars are in fact rotating round us."
Okay, so we don't move and the universe revolves around us. That means the universe rotates every 24 hours. Working that out, the outer circumference of the universe is 81 billion light years. To travel that distance in a day would involve travelling at speeds of 2 times 10 to the power of 22 miles per hour. That's 2.9 times 10 to the power 13 times the speed of light. Just to clarify, that is not even equivalent to mistaking £1 for £1 trillion. This is a colossal error. I was going to continue this rout of red sky and Bowden's bubble, however things have changed. When Red Sky threatened one of my subscribers, Drake's Corner, with action over copyright infringement. Nothing has come of this so far, and I see Red Sky's action as an attempt to intimidate Drake into renouncing his right to free speech. Well, here is my video, Red Sky. Threaten me. Try and quash my free speech. Your bully boy tactics won't wash with me. Your position and ideas are so weak, censorship is your only retort. You and Malcolm are ticks on the toe of society. You suck democracy's lifeblood, and in return try and transmit the disease of creationism. You're gutless. You're hypocrites. You are morally corrupt, and you have been debunked.